A very warm welcome to all our attendees and all the delegates who have come over for this event. A very good morning, very good evening to all participants from around the globe. Today, we are here to attend the second day of the disaster management track that is a part of the Site Week celebration. We had an excellent keynote address yesterday. Many of you were a part of it. Today, we are looking forward to two more very exciting sessions. The first one will be IEEE members in disaster management, real life experiences. Really looking forward to. And following that, we shall hear a panel discussion on the engineer's role in disaster management. So for the first part, I'll hand over the baton to Professor Parkash Lohana, who will be moderating the session. I'll just read out a brief introduction about him. A very warm welcome, sir. So we have with us Professor Parkash Lohana. He is an associate professor and head of computer science at Usman Institute of Technology, Karachi, Sindh, Pakistan. He has more than 30 years of extensive experience as an engineer, academician, and as an administrator. He has served National Engineering Services, Pakistan, as an electrical engineer for about 9 years on different national electrical engineering projects. He has been the recipient of an honorarium from NESPAC for his extraordinary services in NESPAC and excellent performance award by UIT. Sir has served as chair and vice chair of IEEE Karachi section for about 8 years and is currently serving as chair of Site Karachi chapter. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Carr. Really is very comprehensive, introduction. Really very, honored and this being the moderator of this this session. And I'm very much thankful for Amarnath Rajaji, who's really, giving me always these opportunities. Always be feeling very opportunity, very good. While know a lot of things about the IEEE and specifically the humanitarian technology activities. So I welcome all the our worthy panelists in today's session. Actually, as Skar mentioned, this is the IEEE members in disaster management, and that and it's really nicely that today we are going to talk about the real experiences, and we have fortunately with us those personalities who had contributed a lot in their countries during such disasters, so they knew about how to help the peoples and community over there and how to prepare their nurses. Rightly, IEEE initiated the disaster management group. Unfortunately, I am one of the member of for this team, and it's really a right time that we are discussing those real life cases. We have with us today Miss Jenifer, and obviously I will introduce her once she started, and specifically about the Hurricane Maria, the disaster in 2017, and she faced and she was there. So obviously she explained us and how they handled there, and while I was reading that the people were there without electricity for a 6 month, and you just imagine, we cannot survive without electricity for an hour, and so people survive 6 months really. And then we have a very David Sewell. He is the person who has initiated the Move USA. What exactly the Move USA is, that we will listen from David, and the guy from Kerala, Sabarinath, and that he is really a very dynamic person while working in academia and industry, and then doing his PhD. And as a research chair, he contributed a lot in Kerala's disaster. And then we have with us Bigyan from Nepal, and I knew about the disasters in 2018 disasters, and in which Amarnath ji has played a very pivotal role. So we will listen from the Bigyan about their experiences for this disaster. So without wasting further times, I'm going to move towards Jenifer. For Jenifer, as I mentioned that about the Hurricane Maria disaster, and that obviously she's mentioned the details about in for this disaster. Let me read her profile before I request her to begin her presentation. Jenifer is the project specification manager Latin America, and it is Parker Hannon Group Corporation's mechatronics engineers graduated from San Bonaventure University in Bogota, Colombia, and an MBA International Enterprise from Polytechnical University of Puerto Rico. It's about qualifications. And she's a senior IEEE senior member, being a part of IEEE member and a volunteer for 17 years. She has acted in the capacity of IEEE Region 9 Director-elect 2022-23, IEEE Women in Engineering Global Committee Chair for 21 and 22, IEEE Region 9 Secretary 2021, and IEEE Industry Engagement Committee Member 21, IEEE Bureau to Caribbean Section Past Chair. She has a lot of credentials on her shoulders. And Jenifer has been recognized with IEEE MG Achievement Awards 2020 for sustained and outstanding achievements in supporting students, YP and Y member development in Latin America and Caribbean. So she's really, we are very much fortunate that she is with us. And now I request Jenifer to please, enlighten us and let us know about this your experience about the disaster in Puerto Rico, where you were there. So please now towards you.
Parkash, and thank you very much, everybody, for the invitation. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
let me
perfect.
share my screen first, and then we can start. So, once again, thank you for the kind introduction. And I think that beyond being or having any positions in IEEE, I am just a volunteer that is passionate by to give to the people outside the support that engineers can give. And I appreciate that. That is the reason why I appreciate so much what the Humanitarian Activities Committee is doing and can do for humanity. So I'm very happy to be here today to share what they did for us. I can disclose to you that the first time that I did this presentation was in a regional meeting, and I couldn't stop crying during the whole presentation because I went through this disaster. So I hope I can manage that today, and I will do my best for this. So Hurricane Maria actually came after Hurricane Irma. Hurricane Irma came 2 weeks before. It only impacted the northeast of Puerto Rico, but yet Puerto Rico was impacted. Back then, our student branches were already making some efforts to consolidate donations to send to the islands and everything. And 2 weeks after, bang, Hurricane Maria came, correct? So they leave us almost 1 million people, and actually more than 1 million people without any electricity. Just for you to have an idea what the Hurricane Maria is, this little island, this map here is Puerto Rico. So where you see the red and brown areas and black areas, those are have high speed winds. So pretty much you couldn't hide anywhere in Puerto Rico from the hurricane. It crossed our island from one side to the other, leaving a lot of devastation. If you saw outside, it was a hurricane of category 4. However, we were 2 miles per hour away from category 5. So you cannot tell the difference at that point. And whenever you see outside the next day, we didn't have trees. It was like if a fire came to the island. The impact was terrible. We didn't have communications. in my personal experience, I couldn't call my parents until the 5th day. They are in Colombia. So you can tell how difficult the situation was. But the most difficult part was the outage of electricity, because nobody was ready for this. Nobody knew this was going to happen. So this is the map of Puerto Rico, usually speaking, with when the power grid is up. And this is the map of Puerto Rico after the outage, after Maria. So you can see how dark everything is. And wherever you see some lights, they may have generators, things like that. The island was off. It was like if they took a switch and they power off. In my case, I got electricity back after 54 days. My family in-laws, they got after 7 months. So that can tell you the different impact in different areas of the island. Of course, San Juan was the first one, that is the capital, that was lighted up, correct? So only 2 weeks after the event, I got a fantastic email from Hack, from Holly. She was telling me that there were people that were trying to help everywhere. So there was somebody from India, there was somebody from California, from different places in the world, and they wanted to have somebody locally to support. What was the main situation here? I couldn't talk over the phone. I mean, trying to communicate with us was difficult because we didn't have signal. For us to have signal, we have to drive to certain points in the highway to be able to get some signal in the telephone. But they found a way. They found a way to communicate through emails, through Collaborative. They were adapting, even with the difference of the time zone, to the hour that I could actually talk or get in contact with them. Once again, for me, it was very, my heart was warm to see that it was so soon after the disaster, and also that we have people from all over the world trying to help us. Then the hack help us with the elaboration of the project. There is a project that we need to fill and everything. We were giving information, people was giving information, but hack help us to make that happen. With that, we could contact the IEEE Foundation, and we did a fundraising. We got up to, in our case, $12.5 thousand. This is our case because Juntos Podemos, Together We Can, had two different projects, Brillo or Bright, and there was another one that is Oasis, that was another section in Puerto Rico. So you could tell that everybody was trying to help, correct? So what happened is we wanted to distribute solar lanterns because the situation is such that the cell phone was not working for communication, but that was our lantern to go everywhere. So we knew that a lantern would make a difference. There was no light outside in the streets. So if you went out your home, you really needed to have something that for the cars to see that there were you, correct? Or for example, if you wanted to go even to the bathroom, that would make a huge difference. So that was what we selected, the solar lanterns, and we began the selection, the ordering, and the distribution. The distribution was difficult, but it was very key. So here are some pictures of the distribution. Those were the lanterns. Actually, UPS was having a huge situation to deliver lanterns in Puerto Rico, and that happens everywhere that there is a disaster. Roads are not open. The overwhelming help that is we're so thankful for, but managing the help is difficult in logistics, and UPS was floated. So one thing that was good is one of our volunteers, a cousin, was working in UPS, and he helped us to make sure that everything got as soon as possible and together, that we didn't lose any package. So I think that having some contacts with logistics is good. One thing I can also tell you is it was fantastic to see that there were volunteers here in these pictures that they didn't have power, and they decided that they didn't want any solar lantern or anything, because we knew that some regions in Puerto Rico, they were going to get the power back sooner than others. So we decided to go to the towns that were going to get the power back way after us. So I think that that good willingness on the volunteers is so empowering. It's so, you know what this is about, what humanitarian efforts are about. So this is the group that we created in Collaboratech. Sometimes it was active, sometimes it was not, but for me, it was a good source of information. Sometimes when I needed something consolidated, because there was a list of 20 emails when I got signal, and I went there, sometimes a post will make the difference instead of going through all the different emails. And, you know, that information management was good. We were published in the Institute, thanks to the efforts of everybody. That was beautiful. And just to give you some outcomes from it, we visited the towns of Naguabo, Humacao, Yabucoa, Manuabo, Ciales, among many others. Yabucoa is located where the hurricane was coming, and that's why we tried to locate those towns that were far and that we knew that they were going to take longer to reestablish the power there. We did the delivery in 12 different days. We reached more than 400 households and impacted more than 1,200 people. The lanterns were delivered by any type of volunteer, students, young professional members, senior members. And so these kind of efforts show that it doesn't matter which is your membership type. It matters what you want to give to the community. And everybody helps others, and everybody, it's a very, I think it is a great way also to network with your people that you don't know, and they are there. And from there on, there were relations created out of this project that nothing will tear apart. Some lessons learned, really to be able to move forward with humanitarian projects is more about willingness, because the tools and the supports are in place. At least we got the tools and the support, and it was overwhelming once we were working on these. So it's about, you know, have the willingness to do so. The support for a project came from any part of the world. Your alliance it can be anywhere. In my case, Raja was in India, and actually he came to Puerto Rico after some months to see the outcome and everything. So IEEE has an outstanding network and people that is amazing. You just need to knock doors and listen to them and get the opportunities to work with them. The energy of the volunteers will decrease, and that's a fact. At the beginning of the project, all the volunteers are there. As the power starts to be reestablished and people start to have signal in their phones and can work and can study, then the energy will start to decrease. But then engagement is key. It's important for them to be able to have contact with people, to see the good work that they are doing. It is important to focus on the main goal, and it is the people. It doesn't matter who has to do what. If you have to fold a t-shirt or open a box, it doesn't matter who is whom in these kind of responses. The focus is the people. Report to HAC will help HAC to track the results. It is important to keep sending the information. Why? Because this is the way that they can keep helping other territories, other places in the world that will need it in the future, and to get people inspired. And one lesson that we learned is that we can actually take this into one step farther. And a lot of the people that were in this project, we are now part of the Move International initiative. So right now we are Red Cross volunteers. We're trained and we are putting together a kit. And this is all based on the outcomes of these and our experience through this process. We know what is needed for the disaster response as a regular person. So that's what we are trying to put into service for the humanity and for IEEE. This being said, this is what I wanted to share with you today, and I'm open to any question. Thank you very much for the invitation once again.
you. Thank you very much, Jenifer, for your telling us and sharing us your experience of the Puerto Rico disasters. I have one question before the participants ask the questions. As you mentioned that the larger part of the community were without electricity, and then you managed the lanterns, solar lanterns for, but that solved only lighting problems, because the humanity and the community has other problems like health problems, education problems, cooking problems, and so how were you managing all these during this disaster?
Well, the thing is, the Red Cross was doing a fantastic job. That's why we were so aligned with what MOVE does, because what MOVE does, we cannot help everybody. We don't have the bandwidth, we don't have the volunteers to help everybody. But the Red Cross, for example, has. So I would say liaise with this kind of organization and make sure that they have the tools they can operate. If you help them operate, they will make the greater good. It's always nice to be the first ones in touch with the people that we want to help, like giving the aids and everything. But I really think that we make a greater impact if we enable others that have more hands to do what they have to do. Another thing that was very difficult by then was the lack of communication, because we knew which were the hurricane planes, the ones that can go to the hurricane and can assess what is happening inside. So we were disconnected completely from San Juan, for example. I was in the west, and every time that we saw those planes, we were just praying that another storm was not coming, and we didn't have the information. So that is the kind of things that we want to do in the second phase of MOVE International. What can we do with communications in a short period of time? Because the problem is that as IEEE, we can do a lot of things, but disaster response has to be done in a very short period of time. So preparedness is key for this.
Thank you, Jenifer, and we are sure you'll stay with us. And I request all the participants to prepare your questions if you have. And at the end, we will take those questions with our speakers. Now, moving towards with our second speakers, very senior, and he has really done a marvelous job. And I really very much appreciate his contribution in IEEE as a volunteer. That is David Sewell. And as you, I think, heard about the MOVE USA, the project, the MOVE USA, and we may have heard about the MOVE from the photograph, the descriptions, from the websites. We often see the truck, and it's still, it's looking in the background. And we really have an opportunity to meet the person who has gone on the mission with the truck. So here is the David Russells and Swills. And now I'm going to request the David. Before I request the David, let me read his profile so that you may, learn about Mr. David Swill's disaster response experience included the numerous operations over many years in the continental United States as a disaster IT chief. He's a veteran of more than 30 domestic disaster operations with the Red Cross. He has served as the training lead of IEEE for about last 4 years and has deployed twice with the truck or Hurricane Dorian Ida. He's also a member of USA-based International Federation on the Red Cross and Red Crescent's Information Technology and Telecommunication Response Roster. David has had an extensive roster training and has been deployed to Mozambique following a cyclone year, supporting the deployment of the technology following disasters and equipping new team members for service in this area. So David, and also, as I mentioned, that we are very much eager to know about this move and the cause and what is how this, the inspirations come within you to create such initiatives. So please now move to David.
Thank you very much. Before I get started with my presentation, Constance, I want to answer your question. So if I don't, please remind me. Okay, so let me pull up my PowerPoint here. Let me find it. Oops. Okay. So can you all see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Let me put it in presenter mode. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of IEEE, and then I'll talk about what we did on Hurricane Ida. There's so many things about operations that we can share that we can get away from kind of the programmatic stuff, but that's important as well. So let me move this. Okay, so let me talk about our history. So as you all know, IEEE is the largest professional society in the world. So the tagline is so important. It's advancing technology for humanity. That says exactly why we're sitting here today. We have the goal of reaching and assisting people that are having a really bad day, and help them have many good days. So let me tell you what MOVE stands for. It stands for Mobile Outreach Using Volunteer Engagement. And that summarizes exactly what we do. So the primary goal is for us to address communication and power needs in the initial response to disasters. So we are typically there, the MOVE USA and MOVE International. We are typically intended to be there for the first 7 to 14 days of an operation. It doesn't mean that we won't be there longer. It just means that's usually the typical point where a local government or local groups will be at the point where they can take over some of this infrastructure and they don't need us to be there anymore. For example, cell phone providers are highly motivated to get their service back up as quickly as possible, either by deploying cell on wheels, or get the existing towers back up because they want their customers to be satisfied. So we will use the cell network with the truck. We'll also use the satellite that's on both trucks. They both do the same thing. I think some of the slides talk about that. So let me pause from talking about that. And we piloted MOVE in North Carolina and the eastern part of the U.S. We are in the U.S. We're expanding to the West Coast. We're going to be moving one of our trucks to California. Details are in place. I mean, we're finalizing the details to move a truck there. We're empowering the teams to take over and start their own MOVE program in their area. And we are working to empower teams across the country, like Puerto Rico. We're working on helping India make plans to try to get a truck of their own. We are I'm sharing because I'm so excited. Some of these things are still tentative, but I know what we're working towards. In Puerto Rico, we are working for what we call modular MOVE, which means possibly a shipping container or large Pelican cases or something that we can drop into the back of a truck to move around the island there to help. It's all very exciting, and it's going forward at a good pace. Okay, so our trucks are maintained and operated all by IEEE volunteers. We have training for our drivers, which is more involved than just the regular operational training on the truck. And we also have ongoing professional level training for our new and existing members. Most of our members have technology backgrounds. We have members that joined us from the Red Cross that had previously had no idea what IEEE is. Our drivers need to be members of both IEEE and Red Cross. If you want to know why that is, it's not because it's not only because we want them to learn the incredible things IEEE does. We have some practical reasons for the volunteers to be insured under our IEEE coverage. They need to be members, not employees, just volunteer members. Our members are spread all throughout the country, and now, as you see, they're spread all around the world. And the truck deploys right now from Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, and spreads out. It will be an incredibly powerful tool to have a truck on the West Coast. Let's see, go on to the next slide. So under the umbrella of the Move truck, and we call the trucks Move 1 and Move 2. Of course, Move 1 is the original truck, and Move 2 is the truck that we got from an incredibly generous donation from Cisco Tactical Operations Group. So we have the groups are just our volunteers in general that are capable of deploying. We have STEM education and outreach volunteers that do that. We have a radio team that works on the radios on the truck, but we also promote the education of people on amateur radio and how to deploy antennas and things like that. It's a great hobby, and there's a lot of engineering concepts in radios and antennas as well. I'm the leader of our training team. We have a maintenance team that does proactive and reactive maintenance when the truck is on a job deployed. They'll help with any issues that come up. Networking team configures all of the Cisco equipment that's on the truck, the satellite equipment, the SIM cards, the LTE router, make sure all that meshes together and works. Tim Forrest is the head of our weather team, and they help as we're deployed or getting ready to deploy. They look at our path that we're going to travel and keep us steered around any severe weather. I talked about our radio club. We have a call sign. We have regular meetings. Okay, so we had our 5th anniversary recently. This is Move 1. Our partnership with the Red Cross is very powerful. You can't see it here, but the truck is parked behind the Red Cross Blood Center in Raleigh and Durham, North Carolina. And the other new truck is back behind the trees here in another lot by the warehouse doors. So they help us out immensely. Okay, so here's all the operations that we've been We've been on every type of operation that you can think of. I don't think we've been deployed to a wildfire situation yet. But we've been to flooding, we've been to ice storms, tornadoes, hurricanes. The most recent, well, we went out to help with a solar eclipse when they thought communication was going to be degraded, and actually when they got there it was degraded, and the truck went to the airport to help with essential communications when the cell phone network was just basically down because of all the people calling say, wow, this solar eclipse is cool. Here, I'll text you this picture. It just brought down the network. And often we see that on disaster deployments. Most recently, we've been in that Hurricane Ida 3 times. That was our longest deployment. I would say it's probably about 7 to 8 weeks total with both trucks. After we got Move 2 donated, our teams worked furiously to get the satellite up and running and get radios put in and the LTE router. And it was still needed to be tested, but we had it up and running and it performed for us very well. Our stem, here's a picture of Move 2, but now it's wrapped. Wrapping is amazing. It looks much like this now above here. The bottom is still black and the front is still black like this, but the rest of it has the wrap on it. So the STEM public education is incredible. If you've ever seen our young people and how they benefit from STEM, it's amazing to watch. And then our beneficiaries are the people impacted by hurricane, flood, wildfires, etc. We don't directly serve the clients that are affected by disaster, but I assure you that the work of IEEE and the Red Cross makes that service possible. Without our providing the infrastructure, it would still happen, but it would be a lot harder. Okay, so the capabilities of the truck, as I was talking about, satellite-based internet, it's slow. It's slow but methodical is what I like to call. The satellite kind of plods along, but it's consistent. LTE router is dependent on whether cell service, AT&T or Verizon are working in that area. We have the Meraki networking equipment donated to us by Cisco. They're a valuable partner. And as a matter of fact, we work with Cisco to plan strategy and learn about what they're doing when they go out and help on disasters. We have satellite-based TV so we can watch weather and news. We have IP phones, and we have a 100-watt Motorola public service radio that's new to us, so we're learning how to use that. We have the ham radio. In Move 1, we have a 10 kilowatt generator. Move 2, a 20 kilowatt generator. They're diesel, they run off the truck, so they'll just run and run and run for days if we need it to. And we have an air-conditioned workspace, which is wonderful for us as responders, but it's also essential for the equipment to run properly. Okay, we have more pictures of Move 1 than we do of Move 2 for obvious reasons. These are pictures of Move 1. This is our networking. This is our server rack inside with all of our networking equipment. We have a power inverter. This is the roof. We have solar panels on Move 1 and 2 deep cycle batteries that they charge, of course, our satellite dish, and this is between the driver's seat. This is for our electronic logging for the drivers, this tablet. This is our amateur radio. The solar battery system and the main battery system, we monitor both battery systems. And I see that I'm taking more of my time than I should. This is the inside of the back of Move 1. This is the back working area of Move 1 after it was remodeled. This is Move 2. And this is the conference room in Move 2. And this is the operators area. It's much more built out now. This is when they're getting it ready. We provide, like I already talked about, what we provide. And for all the field operations for Red Cross, we can support up to 5 to 7 people at a time inside the truck. We have a memorandum of understanding with IEEE and Red Cross. And please reach out to us with these links. You'll get the presentation afterwards to get more information, and you're welcome to join any of our meetings ongoing. Okay. So
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, David.
Sorry, I went right up to the time. I just wanted to tell Constance that you made a good point about training, and we are working to get FEMA training for all of our operators. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, David. It's really nice to know about your efforts, specifically regarding the move and how that you started and how it is working. I have a couple of questions, but due to the time constraints, for the time being, I'm just moving towards our next speaker, and then at the end, we'll go with the questions and answers. So here with us, the young man, Sabarinath. Sabarinath, actually, he has done a wonderful job during the Kerala flood of 2018. And that's partially from the rains and partially from the opening of the shutter gates of hydroelectric projects, and there were a flooding of the homes and landslides. And Mr. Sabarinath was then the SEC chair of Kerala section, and he did a wonderful job. Students under his guidance built a communication exchange mechanism. They built a portal where the people could enter their locations and their problems. The portals becomes hugely popular. Many agencies were using this to deliver the ads. And the then Chief Minister of Kerala, a press conference directed to all his departments to use this portal to deliver the assistance. The number of hits become a huge, and this becomes the central portal of disaster assistance in the state. And further, obviously, we are very much, anxious to know about this disaster, his real experiences. Before I request, let me just read his brief profile about the Sabarinath. He's the President, Internet Society of India, TRB, Vice Chair, YP, and Secretary of at India, IEEE India Council. Sabarinath received his degree in Communication Engineering from Anna University, Chennai, India, and is currently pursuing his PhD at Cochin University of Science and Technology. After a brief tenure as a network engineer at Information Kerala Mission, he took up the position as a full-time lecturer at St. Joseph College of Engineering and Technology. He was later promoted as an assistant professor at the School of Electronics. Sabarinath held a vital role in purchase and setting up of laboratory infrastructure at St. Joseph College of Engineering and Technology. He has held various leadership positions as a faculty advisors of the ISTE students chapters of St. Joseph College of Engineering Technology, Assistant Superintendent of Examination at St. Joseph of College of Engineering Technology, Center of MD University, faculty in charge of various laboratories, and a branch counselor of IEEE Students Branch. He was awarded with the Outstanding Branch Counselor Award from IEEE Kerala section and from IEEE Headquarter, New York. He was also awarded the MGA Young Professional Achievement Award of 2018 for IEEE for his tremendous contributions. Before wasting further time, I request Sabarinath to please start your presentation and your real life experience of Kerala disaster.
Thank you so much, Parkash, sir, for that very generous introduction. And good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever in the world you are. To start off with, I am pretty much excited to share stage with such stalwarts in the area of disaster management. I am just an infant in this area, and it is really a pleasure to share whatever little experience I have in this domain. What I intend to present to you today is the story of KeralaRescue.in. Well, as you just saw from the previous picture, Kerala has a lot of lush greenery, the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats as well, and a very long coastline on the other side. We also have close to, being a South Indian state, we have close to 44 rivers running through the entire state. And of course, quite a lot of backwaters and water bodies embedded in between. Approximately 39,000 square kilometers in area, but we do have a very large population density, a huge population density, approximately 860 per square kilometer. On a fine, to be precise, between the 1st and the 15th of August 2018, this was what happened. This was kind of very much unexpected. The scale of heavy downpour that Kerala saw between the 10th and 16th of August, to be precise, was once in like 100 years, with absolutely no expectation among anybody that such heavy rainfall would come into the state. Well, being a state with so much of diversity and terrain, generally any heavy rainfall would usually clog most of the roads in the state. And to add on, almost all dams that we had in Kerala state was up to 95% of its capacity, which increased the risk with the dam management committees as well. And so they decided that most of the dams had to push some water out by lifting its shutters and opening up its spillways. Now this, in both together, the heavy downpour, and as you can see from this image here, almost 44 dams were opened up simultaneously, literally taking Kerala section into fluid fury. As you can see, on one side we had the carts, and on the other side we have the sea, and it is through the heavily densely populated area that water has to flow in from the high ranges down into the sea. And to add to all of these effects, by the time water came down through the state, the sea was at high tide as well. So water couldn't just flow into the sea, but rather it stuck within areas where humans were inhabited. And this literally put God's own country in serious trouble. The entire incident kind of dislocated close to 100,000 people. Over 60,000 people were rendered homeless, with around 2,000 plus relief camps opened up, 1,000 plus casualties. But we're not really sure if everybody who required accommodation at the relief camps could be made. So there were quite a few people who decided to stay back at their homes. I can show you a couple of images of what happened. And literally all public transport and all utilities, including water supply and electricity supply, were completely halted. And as you can see, the roads were literally riverbeds. Everything was underwater with serious floods, and even small children, the elderly were all in serious trouble. Whomever could help was out there to help. You can see the kind of damages that was caused to the houses, and water flowing through streets, taking away all on its path. This image here shows this curve here, this U curve, is where the river should have actually flown, and you can see that right down the hills, the entire area was literally flooded, and we couldn't identify which was the river and which were roads and the other places. All houses were kind of completely submerged, with a lot of people deciding, and so frustrated and so desperate, decided to stick back to their homes with whatever livestock and whatever food and fodder they had, rather than moving out. And we couldn't even imagine the kind of sight where firemen would go through motorized rafts through the streets, calling out if there is life, or if there was anyone who needed help out there. This was an image that was released by NASA right after the floods. You can see that this area here, which is what we call the backwaters of Kerala, literally eating up the entire inhabited area. And that was when IEEE Kerala section, with its legacy of humanitarian activities, had to step in and try to find or do whatever that could help the society here. And as engineers, all what we had was the internet and backing from social media. And we obviously had a huge population of smartphone users. Obviously, this power supply was down. The user base of whom could use whatever little of a battery backup they had and the internet connectivity that was up was utilized fully to pull in mass crowd sourcing. To be precise, on the 16th of August at around 6 a.m., we had this poster that was put up on whatever little social media that we could, that KeralaRescue.in is live. Now, this was an initiative by 7 students, of whom I would be introducing in subsequent slides, which literally was made in under 18 hours of time, had a very small setup wherein if there was anybody out there who could volunteer to help, could register himself or herself, and if there was somebody who required help. Now, this was truly student initiative, because Kerala being so wide and around 91 engineering colleges across the state had IEEE student branches. There were volunteers distributed all through the state, and these volunteers decided to come out and extend a helping hand. 2 days down the line, all what could be done was on social media, and there was this district collector of Ernakulam town, Ernakulam district, who came across this website of this poster that we hosted, and he fully understanding that the government helpline numbers was not working the way it should work due to lack of personnel and of course due to lack of connectivity, decided to take support from this website, and he retweeted this website and asking people that if anybody needed help could register here, and they would get in touch with Kerala section and take things forward. A day later, the Chief Minister of Kerala as well went ahead and retweeted this particular post, and that was when KeralaRescue.in was accepted as the central portal for Kerala State for rescue and relief operations immediately post the floods. With government backing, we started off a Slack group wherein engineers from all around the world, to be precise, we had around 1,419 engineers across the globe who started contributing in whatever little way they could on developing this particular website. There were IT companies in Trivandrum Technopark who dedicated full-scale development teams to go ahead and add features to the website, add geolocations to the requests that came in. And in a week's time, this was how that website looked like. Obviously, with Kerala State IT Mission's backing, a lot of other features were added. Geotagging was added. NGOs could come in. Collection centers, private collection centers came in with announcements. If anybody wanted to contribute, list and details of people in relief camps were put up on this website. So anybody who had whose parents were in Kerala and had their wards working elsewhere could check out on this website and find where their loved ones were. So this came to be the central portal for entire activities. And we saw that there were close to 45,000 registered volunteers on this website in a very short time, with around 50,000 plus of requests registered. And as you can see, that the entire process could be handled in a downtime of under 2 minutes. For a student initiative, this was really huge. There were other additions that were made, and like if you were looking for someone, you could post that request. There was somebody at the back end who was taking a look at these requests, validating requests, making sure that the help has either reached them or is still pending. And obviously, there were the maps came up, the geotagging came up, and a lot of other activities came on. One of the most gratifying impacts of Kerala Rescue was that a request that came in was attended to immediately. That there was this full-term pregnant lady who had her water broke, went ahead and posted that she needed help. The district collector verified this in a very short time and get the Navy to airlift this patient to a hospital, and both mother and baby are safe. The Navy came in, the military came in, the Red Cross came in, a lot of other NGOs came in, all taking part, taking info and cues from this central website, rescuing people all around. You can see it was not just the Navy and the government officials. The fishermen folk of Kerala as well moved into multiple locations with their motorized boats and canoes, going around houses trying to help people out of their places. And based out of the request that came in, food was delivered to people who decided to stay back and not move themselves into relief camps as well. You can see a police personnel carrying food to a house where a couple of elderly parents could not be shifted to a relief camp. Now that was the immediate relief operations, and then we moved on. The engineer community moved into the rehabilitation phase, where with almost all houses submerged, the entire distribution system within their houses had to be rewired, which usually the state electricity board would have taken a lot of time. We had volunteers like Professor VKD who came in with an open source design of a distribution box, and obviously under the leadership of Amar sir, and contributions from a lot of other people. You will see Bijuna madam as a speaker in the next session from TKM College of Engineering, who decided to pull in whatever resource they had, and you could see that students themselves wired up this open source design with whatever little they had, and these distribution boxes were handed over to the KSEB, and a lot of our students as well went along with the KSEB professionals to get these systems installed at the houses which were affected, which considerably reduced the time for the power supply to be restored. This was Mission Reconnect. We also had, right during the floods, we also had quite a lot of people who were down with no power source at all, and so students came up with emergency lanterns and battery charging devices, which were obviously one-time solution, but was really helpful at those times. A few of our students working on getting up their lanterns, which were later distributed to various houses. And of course, there were collection centers as well, which brought in a lot of essentials, which could be delivered through local self-governance, handed over to the local people. Now, this is the entire set of volunteers from IEEE Kerala section and the Kerala State IT Mission. You can see the Kerala State IT Secretary with students, along with the section vice chair of those times. These were the students who were working at the back end, verifying requests that came onto the KeralaRescue.in website. And these were the 7 students who decided to go ahead and get this website up and running, and turning out into the central, the central backbone for rescue and relief operations in the state. Well, that's it from me. Thank you so much. And it was indeed a pleasure sharing this experience with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sabarinath. Really wonderful to listen, and obviously, it's really see at one side the disasters and how the humanity is facing the problem, and other side I saw how the people are eager to help all the engineers and technologists, the students, the young professionals. It's a really an amazing see the example of humanity in Kerala. I wish it could be there. But as now we have a time constraint, so without right now, I'm not going to go for the questions, but I request the participants to please prepare your questions. And if anybody have questions, you can write the questions in the question box, and I will read after completing these presentations. Moving further, now we have a last speaker today's that we will listen about the real life experience of the Nepal earthquake. I know a little bit from the Raja Amarnath, but obviously not that much details. We have with us the Bigyan Sreshta. He is the CEO of our Tamakoshi Hydropower Limited. And in Nepal, actually, there were 2 earthquakes on 25th April and 12th May. Both had a very devastating effects. The IEEE Nepal section requested to support the IEEE members from Kerala, UP, and specifically Mr. Harish Masu. I think he's also there, and will join with us in the next session. From India office responded and reached Kathmandu soon after the first quake and before the second quake. They collected money from the India sections, mainly Kerala, Delhi, Bangalore. They contributed like Puerto Rico, and they sent the money for the solar lanterns. Later on, the Nepal sections of the project of electrifications of a village named the Semigyon. A number of people from the section, including the Raja Amarnath, trekked to the remote village Bigyan and started the project using the local contract. Bigyan is an IEEE member and a very senior person of the country's electricity board. He was in charge of the project named the Upper Tamakoshi Hydropower Project, which was near the village. He and his hydropower project engineers helped implementing this project. So I request now Bigyans to please start your presentations, and I'm sure that all the participants are very eager, so please prepare your questions. And I think this is a good opportunity to listen and to learn the real experiences of these disasters. Towards now, Mr. Bigyan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lohana. Thank you very much for Mr. Amarnath Raja also. He inspired me to give this presentation, this occasion. I think everybody of you are here. I mean, no problem listening me, yeah? It's clear to?
Yes, it's clear, sir.
Yes, it's clear.
Right now, I'm just positioning the position of Joint Secretary in Nepal section. And in my industry, I'm leading this Upper Tamakosi hydroelectric project. It is the biggest in Nepal. Right, just 6 months earlier, I'm able to commission this project, and now it is in the full operation. This year, the Nepal, I think it is located in between India and China, and the area is 141,000 square kilometer, and population is near to 30 million. And these are all the demographies. Nepal. And Nepal is rich with mountain peaks and the temples in the Kathmandu. Kathmandu, the capital of Nepal. And this is the scenario. Just I'm giving some kind of feelings that the big earthquake occurred the 25th of the April, and after that also we have a big another aftershock on 12th of May. This is a scenario. So the peak, the monument, it fell down after because of this earthquake, and in this structure, more than 150 died in this area only. So among the country, I think more than 9,000 people died and 22,000 injured. This is the scenario. Thus, I'm showing some of the pictures, the disaster pictures in the Kathmandu Valley, and I'm showing this picture, and so this is the picture related to my project area. My project area belongs to the Dolkha district, that adjacent to the Tibet border. Because of this earthquake, a lot of damage occurred in this the project area, and there's a lot of infrastructure, landslides, and so and so. So, for your information, just I want to show in this northern area now, during the earthquake, there was a lot of threat of this glacier lake outburst. In short, we call it GLOF. Because we are in the Himalayan region, because it is very, very intolerable disaster because of the earthquake. And just I'm showing one of the picture, because picture of after falling off the big mountain, big hill. Just also for your reference, how terrible is the scenario, how the trauma is with the people around there. So it's very difficult to imagine. This is the smoke, I mean the cloud. So I'm just presenting this picture just to show you trauma incurred. And so just I'm linking this earthquake with the IEEE. In 2015 January, we have formed this Nepal IEEE Nepal subsection under satellite of UP section, just inaugurated by IEEE President Michael and RTN Director Mr. Gantu Ramkrishna, Mr. Ramkrishna. And because during this time, we as IEEE volunteer, we are quite new to, tackle with this IEEE's networks. So within the couple of weeks, we are having some good contact with the IEEE volunteers from Kerala and from India. And yeah, probably heard of the IEEE volunteers, Mr. Harish Maishur and Sabarinath Raja. Right, both of these gentlemen are here in this meeting, and they visited in Kathmandu and give a lot of idea about this humanitarian support from IEEE. And with this support, we now again, we as IEEE volunteer, we initiate a lot of jobs apart from our regular relief jobs. In their presence, immediately the IEEE volunteers help us give some relief materials. Within the month later, IEEE Kerala section basically provide us provide some solar lights. Those are the reliefs immediately provided by this IEEE volunteers, especially from the Kerala, Delhi, and various parts of India. Apart from that, later got some fund for other relief projects, and that includes the drinking water project and some solar electrifications. Just want to I'm showing this solar project we executed here in Kathmandu and the surrounding areas. Apart from that, these are some pictures how this solar, drinking water project with the help of IEEE that we executed. A major project outlined is the solar electrification project, Simigaon. This Simigaon is quite as an adjacent village without any network and without any roads. We have to be there with walk of 3 hours to 4 hours. So this the Simigaon is within the Dalha district where the project I am executing, and it is about 200 kilometers east of Kathmandu, and it is the major. This area is the major epicenter that hit during the second aftershock, the aftershock, and these are the disasters you can see happen. What happened there in that area, and this area is much vulnerable with this Gulf glacial lake outburst, and that's why we select this village, get some electrification, because this is completely isolated that time. There's no road, no electricity connection, and for this IEEE contributed major part of solar electrification. What I don't remember the dollars what we got, but it is in Nepali. It's 4.5 millions Nepalese rupees. It comes something around 45 to 50,000 US dollar. Apart from that, there was some gap funds, and for the gap, for the deck gap has been fulfilled by Upper Tomakoshi for the reinforcement of reinforcement of all the network expansions, which has been executed under the CSR program of project. It is worth around 1.2 billion. That was the scenario. And this is where the Simigaon belongs to. Simigaon, it is around 3 hours, where Mr. Amarnath also visited this area before the execution of the project. And the scenario, Simigaon, completely isolated. But the next side of that is the project, my project site. You can see the roads. So Simigaon. And we initiated to install this solar panel on the public school. And that system is to be managed through the member of electricity user group of already using some micro hydro and solar energy has been converted to 3-phase and using micro hydro for the day, solar for the night, like that. Based on some survey, it is around, we have 120 households and 80 households of televisions. These are some estimates. And how people work for this relief. Everything has to be carried on the head load, and getting distribution cable need a lot of the transportation engineering for step, load, synchronization, and non. This is how we install the PV panels. The background is the Mount Gauri Shankar. You see the Gauri Shankar, the peculiarity of this Gauri Shankar mountain is it is in the borderline of Nepal and China. It is one of the landmark time zone of Nepal. This is the project delivery. Now, after execution of this project almost 24 hours reliable electricity. We were able to supply in that isolated village. Micro hydro, daytime, solar switching from evening till midnight. And if there is some automatic cutoff arrangement, 30% of battery drain, then we just make some that kind of arrangement. And these are the system we did. In that area, we replaced most of the old distribution system, the wooden poles with the steel poles. And so there were some changes in the use of the water mills. So now water mills has been replaced with the micro hydro operating in the daytime. These data and convenient for all the locals. And this the solar electrification, now the people are much comfortable charging their mobiles, charging their gadgets like that. So finally, we are able to commission that solar electricity job on 16 February 2017. My and other volunteers, presence of volunteers, and we have handed over that equipment to user groups. The most satisfying expression is the light is no more flickering as in the past, while their children are preparing homework for the tomorrow's class. This was the beautiful part of that, whatever that IEEE contributed in this part of the village. Current status, this project could not go for a long time because after 3 years of this commissioning, the area has been connected with the grid network after 3 years of commissioning. Now the solar panels are not in operation. However, our volunteers are seeking the panel for alternate use because this area, this village is quite isolated one. We are trying, I mean, our volunteers are trying to use the infrastructure in different way. Thus, I'm showing these pictures of the projects, how because that area has already been connected with the grid, national grid, and that because of that, no, the solar, the Sinigao is no more isolated as of now. Finally, without those people and their sincere effort, it is not possible. I fully appreciate then Artin director and Mr. Raza, Mr. Mysore, and for their dedication, commitment, and even sweat and pain. It is not possible to realize this project. The project is complete just because of IEEE great volunteer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bigyan. As we are very, short of time and already cross our time in 15-20 minutes more. So now, actually, I thought to take, but I would request Aman Raja, if you just only couple of few words for closing remarks, then I request Ms. Carr to take over back for the next session.
I want to be very brief, and I can talk about this in the next session where I am moderating. However, I just want to say some things about that each of these projects are really wonderful projects which have helped in those particular areas, and IEEE volunteers are coming. In each of these cases, the IEEE volunteers have contacted us, and therefore we have been able to, so us meaning IEEE, and therefore we have been able to support. And this is fantastic. And in the next thing, we will discuss these same things on how IEEE can really support disasters. Thank you.
Thank you.